Thank you all for watching and supporting my videos. Your encouragement keeps me inspired to create even more content. My next big goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I can't do it without your help. If you enjoy what I create, hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey. Now, let's dive into the stories. It was a quiet Tuesday night, and Claire had the house all to herself. Her husband was away on a business trip, and her 2 kids were spending the week with their grandparents. It had been years since she'd experienced the luxury of being alone in her own home. She planned to relax with a glass of wine, a good book, and maybe fall asleep on the couch to the sound of her favorite show. The house creaked as the wind pushed against the old windows, but Claire was used to its noises. She had lived there for nearly a decade. After all, it was just an old house, nothing to be afraid of. That's what she told herself when she heard the faint scratching sound above her. Probably a raccoon in the attic, she thought, brushing it off. She poured another glass of wine and turned up the volume on the TV, determined to ignore it. But then came the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, heavy. Claire froze, her heart pounding in her chest. The attic. There was no mistaking it this time. Something, or someone, was up there. Her mind raced. She hadn't locked the attic door in years. What if someone had slipped inside during the day? What if they'd been hiding up there, waiting for her to be alone? She grabbed her phone and quickly called her neighbor, Mike, a retired cop who lived next door. "Mike, I think someone's in my attic," she whispered, barely able to keep her voice steady. "I'm coming over," Mike replied without hesitation. "Stay on the line." Claire stood near the front door, gripping her phone tightly. Every creak from above made her flinch. Mike arrived in minutes, carrying a flashlight and a baseball bat. Together, they crept toward the attic door at the end of the hallway. "I'll go first," Mike said, motioning for her to stay behind. He pulled the attic door open with a creak and climbed the ladder slowly. Claire held her breath, listening intently. She heard the crunch of Mike's boots on the wooden floor above, followed by a tense silence. "Anything," she called out, her voice barely audible. "Not yet," Mike replied. "Wait, there's something." A loud crash interrupted him, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. Mike shouted, and Claire's heart stopped. She heard the attic window shatter, the sound of someone jumping down onto the lawn outside. Mike rushed down the ladder and bolted out the front door. Claire followed, staying on the porch as she watched Mike sprint toward the shadowy figure disappearing into the woods. The police arrived shortly after, and an officer informed Claire that they found an old sleeping bag and food wrappers in the attic. Whoever it was had been living there for days, maybe longer. As the officers left, Claire locked every door and window in the house, but sleep didn't come easily that night. Even with her husband back the next day, Claire found herself glancing at the attic door, wondering if it was truly empty. She wasn't sure she'd ever feel alone in her house again. Maggie pulled into the driveway of her modest suburban home, exhausted from a long day at work. The January wind whipped against her car as she grabbed her bag and hurried to the front door. The street was eerily quiet, with most of her neighbors' houses dark. It was a Tuesday, and Maggie's husband, Tom, was out of town on a business trip. The house felt colder and emptier without him. Maggie wasn't new to spending nights alone. She'd always considered herself independent, someone who could handle herself. But tonight, there was an unease she couldn't shake. Shaking her head, she told herself she was just tired. She dropped her keys on the kitchen counter, turned on the lights, and warmed up some leftover soup for dinner. As the microwave hummed, she checked her phone, no new messages. Tom had promised to call when his flight landed, but there was still no word from him. She settled onto the couch with her soup and turned on the TV. The familiar chatter of a sitcom filled the room, providing some comfort. As she curled up under a blanket, the tension in her shoulders began to ease. Then, just as she took a sip of her wine, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She reached for it eagerly, expecting a text from Tom, but it wasn't. Instead, it was a notification from her home security app. Motion detected, backyard. Her stomach tightened. Maggie set her glass down and opened the app. The live feed from the backyard camera appeared on her screen, but all she saw was darkness. The wind picked up, rustling the branches of the oak tree in the corner of the yard. Probably just the wind, she thought, convincing herself it was nothing. She locked her phone and tried to focus on her show, but her mind kept drifting back to the notification. The next hour passed uneventfully. Maggie finished her wine and decided to head to bed early. As she turned off the TV, she noticed how quiet the house had become. The wind had stopped, leaving an unnerving silence in its wake. She double-checked the locks on the doors and windows before heading upstairs. Still no word from Tom. Lying in bed, Maggie scrolled through her phone, trying to distract herself. That's when she heard it, a faint tapping sound. She froze, straining to listen. It came again, this time louder. It was coming from downstairs. Her heart began to race. She debated calling the police but hesitated, unsure if it was even worth reporting. Maybe it was just a branch against the window. Gathering her courage, Maggie grabbed the baseball bat Tom kept under the bed and crept downstairs. The house felt different now, colder, unfamiliar. The tapping sound grew louder as she approached the living room. Her breath caught when she saw it, the silhouette of a person standing outside the sliding glass door. The figure didn't move, standing perfectly still. Maggie's hands trembled as she held the bat tightly. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shaky but loud enough to be heard. No response. She reached for her phone to call 911, but as she glanced down to unlock it, the tapping stopped. When she looked back up, the figure was gone. Her breathing quickened. She rushed to turn on all the exterior lights and scan the yard from every window. There was no sign of anyone. The security app showed no new motion alerts. She felt a flicker of relief but couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been watching her. Determined to put the night behind her, Maggie locked the sliding door, checked every room, and went back to bed. But sleep wouldn't come. Every creak of the house set her nerves on edge. She lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, until exhaustion finally took over. She awoke with a start to the sound of shattering glass. Her heart pounded as she grabbed the bat and her phone, dialing 911 as she crept down the stairs. The operator's calm voice tried to reassure her, but Maggie's fear was overwhelming. When she reached the bottom of the stairs, she saw it, the sliding glass door was shattered. Cold air rushed into the house, carrying with it the scent of pine from the yard. "Stay where you are, ma'am. Officers are on their way," the operator said. But Maggie couldn't stay still. She needed to know if the intruder was still inside. The living room was empty, as was the kitchen. She moved cautiously, her eyes scanning every shadow. The house seemed silent. Too silent. Then she heard the floorboards creak above her. Adrenaline surged as she realized the intruder was upstairs. She backed away, trying to keep her breathing quiet. A loud thud followed, as if something heavy had been dropped. Maggie's hands shook as she whispered into the phone, "They're upstairs." "Stay outside if you can," the operator urged. Maggie ran to the front door, throwing it open just as police sirens echoed down the street. She stood on the porch, gripping the bat, her breath visible in the cold night air. Moments later, officers entered the house, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. After what felt like an eternity, one of them emerged. "Ma'am, the house is clear," he said. "But you're right. Someone was here. We found footprints leading from the glass door up to the second floor. Looks like they left through a window." Maggie's knees went weak. She thanked the officers and watched as they secured the broken door. They assured her they'd patrol the area through the night. But Maggie knew she'd never feel safe in her home again. Every creak, every shadow, every sound would remind her of the figure at the window, the shadow that turned her sanctuary into a nightmare. It's 2 a.m., and I'm sitting in my living room, my heart racing faster than usual. The house is quiet, too quiet. I've been here alone for almost a week now, and to be honest, I've gotten used to it. The peace, the stillness. But tonight feels different. Something's off. It's not the house itself, it's me. Something inside me feels watched. I'm in my late 20s, and I've spent most of my adult life living independently. It's something I've prided myself on, being self-sufficient, resilient, able to take care of myself no matter what. But tonight, that confidence is crumbling. I'm sprawled out on the couch, scrolling mindlessly through my phone, when I hear it, a creak from upstairs. It's faint but distinct, the sound of floorboards groaning under weight. My first instinct is to blame it on the house settling, something I've experienced 100 times before. But this time, my pulse quickens. My mind starts to replay the stories I've heard, the ones you dismiss in the light of day but can't escape at night. I dismiss it, force myself to laugh it off. But then, just as I begin to convince myself it's nothing, I hear it again. This time louder, more deliberate. I freeze, my heart hammering in my chest. Someone, or something, is moving upstairs. I'm alone in this house, right? I try to remember if I locked the door when I got home earlier, but I can't. I'm not sure what I'm more afraid of, that someone's in the house, or that there's no one and it's just me, alone, trapped in my own head. I decide to investigate. The hallway feels colder as I make my way toward the stairs. The shadows seem to stretch unnaturally, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm being followed. My hand is trembling as I reach for the banister, my breath shallow. Slowly, step by step, I ascend. At the top, the hallway is empty, but the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Suddenly, a sound, a whisper. I can't make out the words, but it's unmistakably human. My body tenses, and I turn in the direction of the sound. It's coming from the farthest room at the end of the hall, my bedroom. I know for a fact that I locked that door. I want to call someone, but my phone feels miles away, as if it's part of a different world. I take a step toward the door. The whispering grows louder, more urgent, but still indecipherable. I don't understand why, but I'm drawn to it, as if the sound is calling me. With a shaky breath, I turn the doorknob. The room is exactly as I left it, nothing moved, nothing out of place. But the air feels thicker, heavier, like it's been holding its breath for a long time. I walk to the window, pull the blinds aside. Nothing but darkness outside. No one's here. The wind rustles through the trees, but that's it. I can't help but feel the strangest sense of relief. But then, just as I turn to leave, I hear it again, a voice, louder this time, more distinct. It's time. I don't know what it means, but the fear grips me harder than before. I look around the room, my gaze darting from the closet to the bed, to the floor. But there's nothing there, no sign of a person or an intruder. Just me, alone in my room, with no explanation for the whispers. I don't know how long I stand there, paralyzed by my own fear, but something snaps inside me. I can't take this anymore. I grab my phone and dial a friend, my fingers trembling. As the phone rings, I realize I don't know what to say. What would I even tell them? I think someone's here. But no one's here. My own voice sounds ridiculous, even to me. Then, the phone call connects. My friend answers groggily, clearly not expecting a 3 a.m. call. But before I can say anything, I hear a faint noise on the other end. The voice, again, but now it's coming from the phone. It's unmistakably my voice, but it's not me. I'm not alone, it says. And that's when I know. The thing that's been whispering, the thing that's been following me, isn't in the house. It's in me. It always has been. The question now isn't whether I'm alone at home. The question is, when will it leave me? It's a quiet Thursday night in my apartment, and I've just finished a long week of work. I'm in my mid-30s now, living on my own in a small city, away from family and most of my friends. I've gotten used to it, the solitude, the silence. It's peaceful, really. But tonight, the silence feels oppressive. Like it's pressing down on me, making the walls feel too close. I'm curled up on the couch, half watching a show, half reading a book, when my phone buzzes. I glance at the screen, expecting it to be a text from a friend or maybe an email from work. But instead, it's an unknown number. I almost ignore it. At this hour, who would be calling me? But curiosity gets the best of me. I swipe to answer. Hello? I say, my voice tentative. There's a long pause on the other end, so long I think the call dropped. I'm about to hang up when I hear a faint breathing, slow and steady. It's almost too quiet, like they're trying not to be heard. Hello? I try again, my voice a little sharper this time. Is this Sarah? A deep, calm voice asks. I freeze. My name, spoken so casually, like they've known me forever. I don't recognize the voice. It sends a chill down my spine. Yes. Who is this? I reply, my heart beginning to race. There's another long pause before the voice responds, and when it does, it's like they've been rehearsing what they're about to say. I'm just calling to let you know that you're not as alone as you think. My stomach twists. I try to brush it off, tell myself it's a prank, a wrong number, maybe even some telemarketer trying to mess with me. But something about the calmness in his voice, the way he knows my name, unsettles me. Stop messing around, I snap, my finger hovering over the red button to hang up. But then, the voice continues, almost in a whisper. I've been watching you for a while, Sarah. I know you live alone. I know what you do every night. It's all in your routine. I've seen it all. My pulse spikes. My hands start to shake. How could he know? I barely go anywhere. My apartment is my sanctuary, and no one knows much about my personal life. I'm not exactly a social butterfly. So how? I force myself to speak, but my words come out too quickly. Who are you? What do you want? Another pause. Then, the voice says something that makes my blood run cold. Did you lock the door tonight? I'm not sure what to say. I don't remember if I locked the door. In fact, I can't even remember when I last locked it. I live in a secure building, and I've always felt safe here. It's not like I expect anything bad to happen. I've always trusted that nothing would. But now doubt creeps in. I don't know who you are, I say, trying to sound calm, trying to take control of the situation. Stop calling me. But the voice doesn't stop. It's almost as if he's enjoying my discomfort. I've seen you leave for work every morning, always wearing that red jacket. I know you like to go for coffee at that cafe down the street. I know what books you read, the ones that sit by your bedside. I know everything about you, Sarah. I can hear him smirk on the other end of the line. It's too much. It's too personal. How could anyone know this much about me? I hang up, breathing heavily, my thoughts spinning. I look around the apartment, the silence feels suffocating now, pressing in from every corner. I check the door. It's locked. I double-check the windows. All secure. But I don't feel any better. The lingering sense of being watched doesn't fade. I sit down, trying to calm myself. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's just someone messing with me. But I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. I feel exposed. A few minutes pass. I try to distract myself with something on TV, but it's hard to focus. The show feels irrelevant now. The only thing that matters is the phone call, the strange voice, the things he said. Why me? Why now? Suddenly, my phone buzzes again. I freeze. This time, it's a text message. I'm not sure if I want to open it, but I do. The text is simple, short, and chilling. You forgot to check the back door. My blood runs cold. I've never had a back door. There's no entrance into my apartment from the back. I live on the second floor. But the message doesn't make sense, unless it's not referring to my apartment at all. I jump up and move to the window, peering out into the alleyway below. There's no one there. But my mind is racing. What if I've missed something? I grab my coat, my heart pounding in my chest. I decide to step outside, take a walk to clear my head. Maybe I'll spot something strange, maybe not. But I need to get out of this house, out of my head. As I head toward the door, I feel something brush my leg. At first, I think it's just a shadow, but when I look down, I see it clearly, a thin, white envelope slipped under my door. I'm alone in my apartment. No one's supposed to be here. I kneel down and carefully pick it up, my hands shaking. The envelope is unmarked, no name, no address. I tear it open, and inside is a single sheet of paper with a message written in neat, deliberate handwriting. You're not alone, Sarah. I'm closer than you think. I don't know what to do. I can't breathe. My chest is tight, and I feel dizzy. The walls feel like they're closing in on me. I want to run, to scream, to get out, but I can't. I just stand there, frozen, staring at the note. Suddenly, my phone rings again. I don't even have the strength to look at the screen. I know who it is. It's the voice. It's him, calling again. But this time, when I answer, there's no voice. Just a faint, unsettling breathing, like someone is on the other end, waiting for me to say something. Waiting for me to admit what's happening. I can't escape. I never could. And I don't know who to trust anymore.